Well, not enough people loved it, so they took out the live culture, and it basically came down to soft ice cream with a yogurt name. And then it faded away. And one reason it faded away is because it was so popular. It's like the baseball player said, you know, this restaurant's so popular, nobody goes there anymore. Well, yogurt got so popular that every gas station was putting it in. My bookie in the Bronx was putting it in. And so people who were not familiar with the dairy industry are running frozen yogurt, and all of a sudden there's an article in the New York Times that, you know, Louis on the corner, you know, running the numbers, is also selling frozen yogurt, and he poisoned 15 people. So yogurt disappeared, you know, right then and there. This time it's going to disappear, not because of Louis selling frozen yogurt. It's going to disappear because they're just
ice cream
too
is
expensive.
better.
And ice cream is better. Ice cream is a whole lot better. Frozen custard is a fantastic product. It is in its true form is made in Wisconsin, and most people would say you can't get it outside of Wisconsin. It is a 10 to 12% fat product. Frozen custard is. It has egg yolks. I think it's 1.5 or 1.8% by volume of egg yolk in the product. But it is a very dense, heavy product. It's very cold, and it's delicious. It doesn't transport well. You eat it right there, and it's wonderful. But so many things have become known as frozen custard. There's franchises, I won't mention them, like Rita's, that say they're selling frozen custard, and it's soft ice cream with another name. That's all it is. It's not coming out of a frozen custard freezer. Frozen custard freezer was invented in 1923 by Emery Thompson. We brought it back in the 80s and 90s, but we don't see it as a huge market, so we don't manufacture them anymore. But people buy frozen custard mix, they pour it through a soft serve machine, and it's not frozen custard. If I can throw in a pitch for my competition, if you were doing a high volume frozen custard business, no ice cream, no anything else, just a freestanding building in Wisconsin selling custard all day long, you go to Stolting Manufacturing in Kiel, Wisconsin. They have a beautiful copy of our machine that runs marvelous. It's a fantastic machine. It's going to cost you about $40,000 for a twin head, so it's real expensive. But if that's the product you want, that's what it's going to do. If you're doing like Jeremy's over in Orlando, or Rita's, who we built machines for about 18 or 20 years, it's basically just a soft ice cream with a custard name. So you got to watch out what you're calling custard. If you're on the Jersey Shore, anything that comes out of a soft machine is called custard. It's just a name. It's kind of like lemon ice. I forgot to mention, those of you in Philadelphia, you call it lemon water ice. In New York, lemon ice is such a generic term that you might walk into the Ices King of Corona and say, give me a cherry lemon ice, or give me a grape lemon ice. You know, lemon ice is the terminology, even though it comes in different flavors. So different names and not always the same product. So we're going to run this. This is and my main purpose of running this today is to go after the soft serve places that if you already own a batch freezer, why not buy the yogurt mix and add your flavors in. Oh, that's another important point. All these people that we've put into business, Ben & Jerry, Breyers, Bluebell, Haagen-Dazs, Hershey, they all started as ma and pa businesses and then grew. And when they grew, they had to leave me. Once they get to a 500,000 gallons a year, they go on to what's called a commercial freezer, which is a long, narrow tube. The product is injected in the tube, comes out the front, 1,000 gallons an hour. And it's all vanilla. And at the end of that tube, they have a $40,000 machine called a fruit feeder. And they inject strawberries into the ice cream. So when you buy Reuben Mattis's Haagen-Dazs, when it was made on my machines, when he started in the Bronx, he and his mother, it was made on Emery Thompson batch freezers. Now it is nothing more than vanilla ice cream with strawberries injected into it. Still a great ice cream. I love it. I buy it myself because Reuben was an expert at formulations. But it's vanilla ice cream with strawberries in it. When you have a batch freezer, an Emery Thompson batch freezer, and we're the only ones who can do this, As you saw, everything goes in the machine. Nuts, cookies, candies, fruit.
Chips.
So
Chips.
Chips. We're going to make chips later, white mint chips. So for every particle of dairy, there is a particle of strawberry right next to it. So your flavor is going to be much more intense. So you people looking at frozen yogurt, all they can do is have vanilla frozen yogurt and throw some strawberries on top. You can have, the latest buzzword is infused. You can have your ice cream infused with strawberries throughout it. It's going to be a much better tasting ice cream. That's the big difference between homemade and commercial ice cream. Also, anybody can sell Bluebell ice cream. Bluebell's a big company in the South. We helped get started, I don't know, around 1910. Anybody can sell Bluebell. Anybody can sell Hershey. But only Jeff can sell Mystic frozen desserts. It's his product. And so that's unique to him. Nobody else in the world can sell his product unless he was to show them how to do it or license them to do it. And people will come to his business just because of that. It's a huge marketing advantage. I always say if you go into the supermarket and you've got Hostess Twinkies and you've got Hostess Cupcakes and you've got all this other stuff, you've even got Carvel ice cream cakes, you got all this stuff, and then you're checking out, and at the checkout, you're getting ready to check out. I always fall for this. Right at the checkout is a little tiny bag or a little cellophane wrap, and it says something like Aunt Judy's banana bread. Well, it's just in foil wrap. It looks very simple. It's overpriced, and it looks delicious. And I always buy it because it looks homemade. It looks fresh. Aunt Judy may be a lousy chef. We don't know until we eat it. But it has got somebody else's name on it other than Unilever or Nabisco. And it's right there at the counter. It looks fresh. We buy it. And that's one reason why people go to old-fashioned ice cream parlors over, say, a commercial establishment, because the connotation is that it's fresh and it was made there right away. This is almost ready. I forgot to tell you about timers. Let me just check here. I'm going to put this in the tubs. And there's a marker right over there. And if you can just mark it as, what do we call it, raspberry? The lids are up
I don't know what you call it. Right?
Yeah, I know. You just don't want to make it. Yeah, here's some lids. I know these will match. I don't buy the plastic anymore. Uh-oh. Lost Jeff again. I don't buy the plastic anymore. The cost of petroleum is just driving these through the roof. I'm going to just check. Opens up, cuts like a knife went through it. Turn off the refrigeration. Up, down. See how that looks? That's how you know it's ready. That and a timer, which I keep forgetting to tell you about.
You don't need them.
You really don't need one, but... So I'm going to fill this whole thing. I think Jeff can appreciate this. When you get a little bit older, not much, you start going to, fancy doctors. I go to an eye doctor. And the eye doctor is so fancy that he makes all his appointments for 3 in the afternoon. Everybody, 20 people, 3 in the afternoon. And his receptionist says, make sure you bring War and Peace because you're going to get halfway through it before you see the doctor. I walk in with a couple of tubs of ice cream and cups and spoons, and I tell him who I am, and this gets into the doctor, and I get in to see him right away.
I do the same thing.
I get in to see them right away. I ran into one receptionist. She thought she was pretty smart. She took the ice cream, and I still didn't get to see the doctor because she was eating it. So now it's, I have this for the doctor, and she goes, I'll take that for you. No, I'll give it to the doctor, and oh, by the way, it's melting. So I make sure I get in to see that doctor really quick. I did that with an eye specialist, the best in the country at Columbia Presbyterian, Dr. Jeff Odell. And I would bring ice cream, and I'd get in right away. And then one day, I brought ice cream, and I waited 2.5 hours. And by this time, we're on a first-name basis with Dr. Odell. I said, hey, Jeff, what's the story here? I waited 2.5 hours. He said, the lady before you brought fresh chocolate chip cookies. I was beaten out. That, and of course, bring it to the bank, like I said.
I bring it to the doctors too, and the banks. Yeah. How did you know all this stuff?
I've been around.
You're much older than I am.
Was there I know. Was there a, did I see a question before? Or? Yes, yes, sir.
How long is life expectancy of the ice cream? How do you keep it?
Oh, yes, and the lady before asked about hardening cabinets. The way it is right now, we could throw this just into a Sears chest freezer, and it would be good for a couple of weeks. But if I take this ice cream and take it down to 30 below zero Fahrenheit, really, really cold, I could keep it for 6 months. The colder you keep it, the longer it'll last.
Whoa.
So that's, is that too full?
No.
I can take a little here.
No, it'll be all right.
So the colder you keep the ice cream, the longer you can keep it.
So it doesn't, you don't have to remix it? Or
Oh no, and it won't deteriorate at 30 below zero. Now, one thing I've heard other people say, I don't think they do it anymore because I keep shaming them. They say, oh, buy my batch freezer, you don't need a hardening cabinet if you buy my batch freezer. Hey, that saves you $6,000 for a very large one. I can make the same statement. Buy my batch freezer, you don't need a hardening cabinet. And then I'll finish the sentence. If you promise me that everything you make today you'll sell within a week. Because if you're going to keep it longer than a week or 10 days, it's going to start getting ice crystals in it. So if you're a gelateria and you're making it fresh every day, you do not need a hardening cabinet with an Emery Thompson batch freezer. Oh, we're going to need this to give it out to everybody.
Yeah.
Would you do me a favor and taste it and see if it's edible?
God forbid.
Well, this is what experimenting's about. Here, let me get you a spoon.
Me?
Yeah. You don't think I'm going to do it?
No, I'm busy. I've got to
I'm a
put this in the
diabetic. I shouldn't be
freezer.
eating this stuff.
Oh, God.
Yes.
It's terrible.
what is the power requirement for the 350?
It's great.
Mezzo.
It's great.
We'll let you try it. I don't think it's a big winner. You want to come up, with that said, you want to come up and try it?
awful.
Yes, question.
I have a question. Can you harden gelato?
Can you harden gelato? Yes, I wrote an article about this about 5 years ago and pretty much changed the industry because the Italians were all in an uproar. They said, oh gosh, he wants to harden gelato. Well, why not? The one thing that was going bad with gelaterias is they were making the product fresh every day. This is a good, might as well talk about it, good time talking. Do you want to try this or did I scare you all off? You never know. The problem with gelaterias, besides the arrogance of them, do you know where that scoop is, Jeff?
Which scoop?
The stainless steel. I was looking for the flat stainless. That's it. That'll work. The problem with gelaterias is three of us walk into a gelateria. I would like tiramisu gelato. Paula would like mint chip ice cream, and Sadie, the golden retriever, wants cherry Italian ice. Well, this gelateria only sells gelato. So they're basically saying to us, go away. You know, we'll serve Steve, but the rest of you go away. We don't have Italian ice. We don't have mint chip ice cream. And that was a big flaw. The other big flaw in gelaterias was over in Italy. Granted, the American diet is a Diet Pepsi and a bag of potato chips. You know, we eat a bag of potato chips and a Diet Pepsi at 11 in the morning and at 2 in the afternoon and, 5 at night. The Italian diet is altogether different. It's gelato at 11 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon and 5 at night. They eat way more frozen dessert than we do. So what happens in the gelateria is they're everywhere. When I went to Florence, I walked into a gelateria and I said, I'd like some fruta di Bosco. And they said, I'm sorry, it's 12 o'clock, we ran out. Well, no big deal. You go down the street to half a block away, there's another gelateria. I can get my fresh fruta di Bosco there.
Your apron.
Because they're eating ice cream every day, several times a day. Here in the United States, if we ate ice cream every single day, our cardiologist would kill us. So we eat ice cream maybe once or twice a week, and we And we therefore go for the very best product that we can find. But eating it once or twice a week, we're not going to go through the ice cream as fast as the Gelateria. They make these little pans, we make the 3-gallon tubs. So the American Gelaterias have got all these different flavors, and they either run out of the flavor or it sits around so long it's not good. I'll get to you in a second, Ken. When I go on vacation, if Paula and I go up to Cape Cod, let's say, and we visit 4 Seas Ice Cream, one of my favorite ice cream parlors up there, we might only get there once every 2 years. Well, I can't wait to get there because I remember from 2 years ago what their mint chip tasted like. And it's really exciting. I'm going to have their mint chip. It's been 2 years. I can just visualize it. I get there and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it's 12 o'clock. We ran out of mint chip an hour ago. That won't work in American business. You can't walk into Burn's Steakhouse in Tampa and they say, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out of filet mignon. The American business has got to have everything in stock all the time. And the gelaterias in Italy, they don't care if they run out of a flavor because there's a guy over there that can sell it to you. So the fact that they were limited, they were very narrow cast, selling gelato only, and instead of also other frozen desserts, American ice cream, ices, sorbets. They're very narrow cast and they run out of product, and those are 2 killers. So I won't ask you what you thought of this. It was kind of bland. It needs more work. But look at that. That color is great. I mean, that's I gotta have something good going for it. I mean, that's all natural. There's no color in there. That came from fresh raspberries. It just happens to be bland. Yes?
When you let it sit for 24 hours, more would be good. Yeah, with that oil?
Yes, in 24 hours the flavor will come out and I'll be able to pawn it off on my wife Paula. But other than that, it isn't going to work. It will, I mean, technically it works. The batch freezer does a great job. The idea of selling it in pints works. It just needs Jeff to work on the flavor. You got to work on the formula. Yes?
I saw on your website, at least for the 350, for the power requirement. What's the special requirement?
The CB350 is really nothing. They're all 220 volt. Now, for those of you not familiar, because not everybody is, when you plug in a hairdryer or a toaster, that's 115 volt. If you have a clothes dryer, electric clothes dryer in your house, that's 220 volt. It's in your house, it's everywhere, and it's very common. These machines run on the heavier 220 volt. It then goes further than that. In the United States or in North America, or everywhere really, there's something called single phase and 3-phase. We build our machines both ways. Everybody else, all the other Italian machines, they take the attitude of, well, you're America, you'll take what we give you. So they only build in 3-phase. 3-phase is 220 volt, but it's heavy, heavy power. It's what runs this factory. You're not going to find this in most stores, and to bring it in could be $20,000 or $30,000. So the Italians, like Cappigiani or the Taylor machines or the Electrofreeze, they tell you, you've got to go and buy a transformer called a phase changer to run their machine. So you spend all the money for the machine, then you spend another $3,000 for the phase changer. And phase changers, no matter what anybody tells you, they wear out in 3 years. And then you got another $3,000. If they would only build the machine to the voltage that the customer needs from the ground up, then the machine will last 45 years like all Emery Thompsons do. That's our average lifespan. So when you call up and order a machine, this one is always single phase. The bigger ones, it'll depend on what you have in your business. There's also air-cooled or water-cooled. The countertops are always air-cooled. It's got a small engine in it we call the compressor. Your home refrigerator has a small compressor in it, about 1/8 of a horsepower. It's so small you don't even notice it, but it's sucking in air from the bottom and the front and blowing it out the back. It's air-cooled. This is a whopping big 2 horsepower. So it's pulling in air from the front and blowing out the sides and the back. Not so much that it's going to affect the room. And then we can do it with the bigger machines. You get to a point with these bigger machines that it's raising the temperature of the room, so you have to increase the air conditioning. So we can build it water-cooled or air-cooled. If it's water-cooled like this one, water is circulating around, cooling the engine, and then throwing the water away. Well, all the environmentalists go, oh no, that's terrible, you're throwing away water. Well, it's more efficient to do that than to have this room go up to 95 degrees because of the heat it's throwing out. And now I got to turn the air conditioning on, which is fossil fuel, and I'm burning a whole lot more electricity to run, not to run the machine, but to take the heat out of the room. Engines create heat. Your car engine creates heat. It's a combination of water and air.
So the 350 is only air cooled?
Only air cooled, only single phase. That's the most common. You can run it in your living room if you had to. That's the way we designed it that way. We're going to take a brief break for everybody to get some coffee and some water. And the restrooms are right over there. If you see Sadie, don't let her walk out with you if you're going out for a cigarette. And we'll be back together in 10 minutes.
Okay, one last thing about the frozen yogurt. I'm surrounded by frozen yogurt stores, and in my store, I show the people my cream that I start with. It comes in the bladders, like you know. And a customer came in just last week, and he said he went to the frozen yogurt store and asked to see the product in the back, and they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him see how they make or what they make it with, because he felt it was just bags of powder.
A friend of mine, Mary Leopold up in Georgia, said one day, I asked her about they have Leopold's ice cream, a very famous ice cream parlor in Savannah. And she said, I don't eat any dairy product that has more than 4 ingredients in it. Milk, cream, sugar, skim milk. That's it. And a lot of these yogurts have, Dow Chemical would be thrilled to list all the stuff that's in there. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back in 10 minutes.